As we all know, ever since the guy who really wishes he wasn't washed got booted out of Red Bull second team B Carb, the team has now essentially become a battleground for the second Red Bull seat, since Checo, yeah, and this battle is between Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson. Now, before I even speak on anything, I want you guys to know I am really biased towards these two since I have followed their junior career since 2019, and I think it's fair to say that the stocks I invested in them has paid off. So if it sounds like maybe I'm overrating them a little bit, that is why. Anyways, Yuki Tsunoda has been a Red Bull Junior driver since 2019, and the same with Lawson. However, Yuki got his big break first in 2021, and Liam is only getting his now. So wait, why is Liam even a consideration even though Yuki has more experience, you might say? Well, it's because these two drivers are loaded up with talent and raw pace, and even though Liam has only joined the grid now, it's because since 2021, he's been on his own adventures like in DTM and Super Formula and almost winning titles there. Plus, he has had extensive F1 testing with Red Bull, so even though he is classed as a rookie, he's really not since he has clearly proven himself. So now this puts Red Bull in a dilemma. Who on earth do they go for? And more importantly, who is truly the best fit for their current standards? Their current standards are probably something along the line of being fast, being consistent, and being second fiddle to Max, but also being there in case Max is taken out. So let us find out which driver is the best fit for their current standards. But before we go any further, don't forget to join the Discord where we chat about many things, and subscribe if you're new if you think Red Bull is a joke. So enough yapping, and here is who Red Bull should go for. So the way we're going to find out who is the best is simple. We'll look at their junior careers and then their time in F1 and determine the type of driver they are. So let us start with Yuki Tsunoda, and he would begin karting at the age of 9, which is pretty late for F1 driver standards. However, he would make it up with serious results. My guy was out here dusting competition and winning titles or finishing runners up, and this caught the attention of Honda. Honda were basically like, you're too good to be karting at 16. So in 2016, they put him in a junior series that no one really cares about, and he won a title there, so yippee, I guess. Now for the real stuff, and the F4 championships, he would cook since he finished third in the F4 Japanese Championship in his first full season, finishing with 3 wins, 4 poles, and 6 podiums. He would also go on to win the JAF Formula E Series title, and he finished here with 5 wins, 5 poles, and 6 podiums in 6 starts. So again, he was on a tear, so Honda were like, you're too good to be in F4 at 17, but before they could finish, in 2018, Yuki won the F4 championship this time, and he finished with 7 wins, 8 poles, and 11 podiums in 14 starts. Damn. So now Honda were like, okay, now you're way too good to be in F4 at 18. So in 2019, Yuki was put in the Euro Formula Open Championship, and he would do pretty good since he finished 4th in the standings, taking 1 win and 6 podiums. But despite a good performance, he would finish behind his teammate, which was funnily enough, Liam Lawson, who took 4 wins and 7 podiums and finished 2nd in the standings. Anyways, even though he finished behind his teammate, that would not sway him since he would also compete in F3 as well, and here, he would have an amazing season. If you just look at the results, you would think otherwise, since he finished 9th with only 1 win and 3 podiums. However, when you take into consideration his teammates were not even close to the points, and also Yuki scored 100% of the team's points that season, then he did wonders in that car. And Honda knew this too, since for the year that changed time perception for everyone, which was obviously 2020, he would be placed in the Toyota Racing Series, and he would be mega consistent since even though he had 1 win and 3 podiums, he placed 4th. However, his teammate again, Liam Lawson, finished 2nd with a more impressive track run. Honda said that doesn't matter though, so Yuki was placed into F2 for 2020, and here he would cook so masterfully. Taking 3 wins, 4 poles, and 7 podiums, he finished 3rd in the standings, 15 points away from 1st and just 1 point away from 2nd. And with Alex Albon being casted as Shadow Realm alongside Daniel Kvyat, this opened up a spot at AlphaTauri. And let's be real, the smart decision would be to put Alex in there so he could get confidence back, but instead, they chose to put Yuki in that car, and whether it's because they wanted to or were, persuaded through other means, he would get the F1 drive for 2021. So how did he do? Really shit. Okay, to be fair to Yuki, he wasn't that bad and did show glimpses of his talent, like in Abu Dhabi that year where he was like 6/10 away from a podium. However, despite this, he binned the car a lot, and I mean a lot. Like in 2021, a weekend almost felt incomplete if we at least didn't see Yuki spin the car. And keep in mind too, Gasly had over 100 points in the same car, and that car should have been 5th in the standings. So this didn't make Yuki too hot with many F1 fans, but we do have to give him credit where it's due. In his first race in Bahrain, he cooked Alonso with this overtake and finished 9th in the race. He also cooked in Baku since he got P7, and again, he got 4th place in Abu Dhabi with only 6/10 being the gap between him and Sainz. So this glimmer of hope in him led Red Bull to keeping him for 2022. And you know, normally rookies get better the more they are in the sport. However, Yuki said, nah, I'm gonna embarrass myself. And yeah, he did. 2022 is without a doubt his worst year in the sport. This guy kept on crashing and spinning, and to make it worse, he barely scored points at all. Okay, again, to be fair, the 2022 car was pretty bad, but I mean still, Gasly outperformed the hell out of it, which landed him the Alpine drive. Meanwhile, you have Yuki, who was still going to be bound to AlphaTauri and perhaps even thrown out. There is a likely reality out there where that car in the beginning of 2023 was occupied by Nick DeVries and Colton Herta or Liam Lawson, but Red Bull showed him pity and said, one more chance or you are done. So he was kept for 2023, and this time he needed to lock in or he would start appearing in those top 10 worst drivers of all time videos. But thankfully for Yuki, he locked in and decimated Nick DeVries, who was supposed to replace Yuki, and he was destroyed so bad that Red Bull brought back PR3 and he was supposed to replace Yuki, but he was decimated too. Yuki would have a brilliant season since that car was the worst on the grid for most of 2023, and Yuki would get 17 points in total. So now maybe, just maybe, if he gets a decent car again like in 2021, he can prove himself to Red Bull and get that drive. And I am happy to report he is doing just that. This guy cooked Daniel Ricciardo so hard that his fans are still in denial about what happened. But listen up, Ricciardo fans, he cooked your driver. After being dealt a bad hand in Bahrain, where he was forced to obey team orders in the literal first race for 0 points, Yuki made sure to embarrass Ricciardo. So he scored points after points while Ricciardo kept finishing in P14 or P15. So Red Bull kicked him out, and then they put the one guy that always seemed to get the best of Yuki, Liam Lawson. And here we are in the present. Right now, Yuki's in a bit of a slump, and this is massive since this can have heavy implications for that Red Bull seat. And you know, Liam isn't doing too bad in that car, so the spotlight is back on Yuki. Can he perform using the raw pace and anger he has? Time will only tell. And speaking of Liam, let us look at his career now, and starting with the junior series, he would begin karting at the age of 7, and he would compete and win many series and was just very consistent. And at the very young age of 13, he would get a single-seater debut in 2015, participating in some, I don't know, random series, who really cares, and he would get a win, a pole, and 10 podiums. Yeah, this kid is generational. Anyways, he would compete in many smaller feeder series and just win some more. So in 2017, he finally got his big break in the Australian F4 Championship, and here he would finish second in the standings with 5 wins, 1 pole, and 12 podiums. After this, he competed in more championships, and while he never really won titles like that, he was always very consistent in getting wins after wins. But the truth is, this guy just has terrible luck and a bit of a knack for crashing. But speed conquers all, so in 2018, he would compete in the ADAC Formula 4 Championship, and here, he would get second before finally moving on to F3 in 2019. He would perform shit. Well, not really, since he did get 2 podiums, but that was it. A bad car coupled with even worse luck killed all the momentum he had, but never back down, never what, so he would go to the Euro Formula Open Championship and finish second in the standings with 4 wins, 2 poles, and 7 podiums, and would also win the Toyota Racing Series with 5 wins, 4 poles, and 11 podiums. So has Liam hit his ceiling, or does he have more to prove? Well, he competed in F3 again for 2020 and finished 5th in the standings, taking home 3 wins, 1 pole, and 6 podiums. So I think it's fair to say that he isn't done just yet. He would also compete in the Toyota Racing Series again, where he finished second, and now in 2021, he enters 2 sports at the same time, F2 and DTM. In DTM, he was brilliant since he became the youngest ever winner in the series and was looking very likely to win the title, but unfortunately for him, a South African terrorist crushed his hopes, and Liam was extremely salty and vowing to never return to the series again. You know, Personally, I wouldn't let that be my legacy, but you do you, Liam. Anyways, in F2, he was dog shit. I need to stop saying that. He wasn't, but he had some horrendous luck. He would take home 1 win, 1 pole, and 2 podiums at the start of the season, but would only get 1 more podium towards the end of the season, and, would also crash a lot in the season, which led to him 9th in the standings. Not exactly ideal, methinks, but Red Bull had faith in him, so he competed again in 2022, and this time it was much better since he now had 4 wins and 10 podiums, which left him 3rd in the standings. Thankfully, Liam knows how bad F2 is, so instead of rotting there again for 2023, he left to do Super Formula, and him and Ritomo Miyata would duke it out for the title, but unfortunately, Liam would lose out since he got 2nd, but he did take home 3 wins, 1 pole, and 4 podiums. So in the meantime, when he wasn't racing in 2022 and 2023, Liam was doing 3rd driver duties for Red Bull and was likely to suffer there. However, Daniel Ricciardo would break his hands by doing the #1 rookie error of hitting your hands on the steering while crashing. And as Miss Dumbass over here says,
as a race car driver, your tools are your hands and your feet.
So enter Liam Lawson as a Formula 1 driver for AlphaTauri. Liam would race for 5 weekends while Daniel healed, and he would do really well considering he was thrown in the car with only 1 free practice session, and also considering the weather gods would torment the drivers for fun on Sunday. He finished 13th in that race, ahead of Yuki, and keep in mind, the car is still the worst on the grid at this point, and he would also finish 11th in Monza, also ahead of Yuki. But then, we enter Singapore. The RB19 was horrendous around there, so while Max was struggling to get out of Q2, Liam Lawson, the mad lad he is, knocked Max out of Q2 and would go on to finish 9th in the race, scoring his first points and finishing ahead of Yuki. What a lad. And in Japan, on Yuki's home turf, he snatched his chain and finished ahead of him before finally finishing behind Yuki in Qatar when Liam got 17th place. So in 5 races, he finished ahead of Yuki 4 times, and even though Yuki did not start in Monza and did DNF in Singapore, Liam still finished ahead of Yuki 2 of the 3 times where both cars finished, so that is a statement. But Liam would go back to the sidelines for 2024, but as we all know, he would come back after again Daniel was forced out of the team with his tail down. So now we have Yuki versus Liam again in the sport, and just to remind you, Liam is 2 for 2 on Yuki since a mistake in Coda cost Yuki and a DNF in Mexico also cost him. The one guy that was always right there with Yuki in the academy is ahead of him again, tormenting Yuki for that Red Bull seat. This is absolute cinema. Anyways, now for the big answer. Who on earth should be in that car? Yuki Tsunoda, who is really fast and aggressive and knows how to win, or Liam Lawson, who is really consistent and keeps his head down and gets results? Well, first, their flaws. Yuki is very angry, as we all know, and sometimes this clouds his judgment in the races since he either makes a mistake on his own when he did not need to, or makes a fool of himself through the anger like in Bahrain. Then you have Liam, who sometimes does lift his head too much and makes mistakes by being too confident or feeling entitled for positions, which does lead to crashes sometimes, and also letting things get to him, which enables a sort of ego that pisses off other drivers. These are 2 major flaws, and to be honest, if one of them does go to Red Bull, then they have a lot of learning to do, and perhaps a reality check is in order, since drivers like Albon or Gasly struggled because they weren't ready yet. They weren't what they are now back then. Again, to be honest, I fear for these 2 since I feel whoever goes won't be ready for the giant change, but perhaps I'm just worrying too much since I love both of these drivers. Anyways, sorry for yapping. If one of them is to go to Red Bull, personally, I feel that Liam Lawson is the choice to go with. This is tough since Yuki is that guy, believe me, but I just feel that Liam has a higher potential and ceiling than Yuki, but I don't want him gone from the sport. Personally, I feel Yuki would thrive at a midfield team like Aston Martin or... I guess there's no other midfielders. But yeah, I choose Liam because, again, I believe he has a higher ceiling, but also has proved himself to not only be a good F1 driver, but a good motorsport driver since he has competed in a variety of series and done well in nearly all of them. And if he controls his ego and temperament, ultimately, I feel there is more to a controlled Liam than a controlled Yuki. Anyways, those are my thoughts on who should get that Red Bull seat. Man, this was like choosing a favorite child. I love both of these drivers and I just want to see one of them doing well, but again, if I had to choose, I do think Liam would be more suited to Red Bull's needs and would ultimately extract more out of the car than Yuki. And remember, This was all my own opinion, so if yours differ from mine or anyone else's, feel free to debate as long as it's of course respectful. I also want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock, and if you haven't joined yet, I would appreciate it if you did so, since this really helps me out and you guys get really cool benefits. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, since that would greatly help me in making better content, and make sure to let me know in the comments who you would choose for that seat. And as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.